It's Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and that means the PPL is back. I'm Dolson, and joining me on the desk to start off the day is Gormizer. Gore, we have a great Thursday. I'm excited for all the games we have here today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun week of the PPL, I think.
This is probably one of the most interesting days that we've had, just because, again, between NIP and SSG, no one's lost yet, so someone's walking away with a loss today. And honestly, I think SSG right now are looking like one of the two teams that could take down NIP. And then, of course, following up almost immediately after, Envy and Knights. It's so contested right now just because it's kind of a big question mark as to where Envy's going to end up, because they've been a little bit on a downward trend, kind of like finding themselves in the middle of the pack right now, and the Knights have been on an upward trend.
Exactly.
So I think right now they're kind of meeting each other right in the middle.
Actually, I think, the one person who said that SSG was going to win in our predictions on Esports Weekly, so I'm sticking to that. Well, ask me after a couple games. I might jump ship and flip to the opposite side.
See me in two maps.
Let's look at NIP first, though. I mean, they are, I think, the team to beat as of right now. They've not lost a single game. They're 5-0. SSG on the opposite side, 2-0. But they're kind of known for their sort of flexible play style, the spiciness, as we like to call it. And Alex is kind of one of the driving forces behind a lot of that. The flex player in the truest sense of the word in that. Well, you see him here on Andro. You might catch him on a Ruckus or a Khan. I mean, God knows what the guy's going to play. And I think that catches other teams off beat a little bit.
They will absolutely put him on whatever they happen to think about it. And I think that's one of the things that is giving them such a huge edge in a lot of these matchups. It's not just, okay, well, we know, Alex will play this or they can play this. It's like, okay, wherever they go, whatever map you choose or they choose, they're going to have a draft that's good for that map, and they can play it at the exact same level as a map they play on one they choose, or if it's one that's kind of taken for them. And I know they focus a lot on Serpent Beach, I think Frog Isle were the two maps they chose going into their sets last week. And it's like anything that just kind of gives Alex a little bit of range if he wants it. But I mean, we saw him play Barrack 2 weeks ago and just do top damage. It was insane. So you can't lock them down.
You can't. It's hard. I mean, it's one thing to have an incredible champion pool, but it's another thing to play it at the high level that they do.
Yeah. Looking
at another guy, Diggy Dog, what does he kind of mean to this NIP team?
Honestly, I'm going to put him in the same area right now as I'm putting Alex, where it's just he's flexible. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things. Obviously, he's kind of listed as the flex. He plays more of the off-tank than anything. So you'll see him a lot on a Ruckus, on a Khan, on a Makoa, on an Ashe, something like that, where he can get aggressive. But last week they showed they're not afraid to flex to a triple DPS. He still is a really good Bomb King player. So you have to be worried about those constantly being able to come through. And that's another part of their strength. If you let Diggy have something he's comfortable on, you're going to be hurt. And because between him and Alex, they're so comfortable on so many different things, it just makes it so difficult for this team to be locked down.
He's such a skilled frontliner as well, one of the hybrid tanks. I mean, it's almost guaranteed that any single game you're going to go in and he'll get a double kill or a triple kill or something along those lines. He plays those aggressive frontliners so well.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that enhances the rest of the flexibility of the team. When you have a frontliner getting in your face, it's hard to deal with.
He's playing DPS. He just happens to be playing frontlines when he does it.
That's right.
That's the way he's playing. And I feel like that's kind of the style we see. I would say Rubu does a very similar kind of style, right? Yeah. It's going to be in your face. It's going to be aggressive. And it's going to find kills. And it can be game-changing when he finds them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get punished for it. Sometimes you don't. So far, NIP are the team that has been punished probably the less.
No, I absolutely agree. Well, we know they look good. But how are they feeling? We have an interview with Bittner standing by. Let's take a listen.
All right. Well, we are here with it's Bittner, or Tenor as we like to call him. He's sick, so I want to keep this interview very short in respect for him. He barely wanted to get up with us. But first of all, I know you're not feeling well physically. Are you guys feeling well mentally heading into probably the most important set of the year thus far?
Yeah, I think we are, and I think we're very prepared for it.
So one of my things that obviously a lot of people are talking about, we don't have any of the people maybe playing, and we don't know. Atlas, coming into the conversation here, what is your general thought about him just as a champion, not giving away any strats? You guys feel like he's got value, and what value is that he brings?
I think Atlas is going to be highly contested. He's an overall solid tank.
So as far as Imani as well and the Cassie thing, how much is that factored into it? For me, I've seen Cassie banned quite often, so if anything, it feels like getting Cassie and Imani won't be an issue people have to go against, but do you have any awareness of that and how you'll play around that situation?
Well, the thing is, if you take Cassie, then you're limited to not being able to take the Imani, so we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tenor. Go get back to your seat. I know you're not feeling well. That's it for NIP. We'll talk to SSG just a sec.
Well, a sick tenor could be the edge that SSG need in order to break through this one. One thing I think I really enjoyed that they talked about was kind of the opportunity of the new couple champions, Atlas and Amani, coming into play today. You imagine if there's any team that might throw something like that out early on in their viability and their availability, it could be NIP.
I mean, these guys brought in Ferocity Grover last week, right? It was something that you aren't used to seeing, kind of came out of nowhere. Like, even in scrims, like, it coming up was just something that they specifically as a team were starting to do, and that they kind of centered everything around last week. So if you're looking at anyone who's going to try to pull in an Atlas, it's going to make a big deal. But the one thing that was mentioned with Cassie was mentioned yesterday during Esports Weekly, and of course we also talked about it during the update show. Imani and Cassie can't be on the same team because right now there's an issue. If I can't even remember the exact scenario, but there's a certain scenario that can give you permanent Cassie ult vision, right? That can come through. So you can't have them together. And that makes you wonder how high priority she's going to be, right? Cassie is one of the mainstays, so is it going to be worthwhile letting go of her to get the Amani?
That's the thing you have to look at in that 1-2 situation. We'll have to see how it plays out. Let's flip the script a little bit. Let's go and look at SSG. Okay. They're technically undefeated. I mean, they're 2-0 at this point. And you look at their lineup as well, and they have a lot of kind of mirrors, I think, that NIP do. Don't have the same spiciness, at least as of yet, that we've seen out of them. But Ares is kind of one of those main guys that you have to look at in this lineup. What do you see out of him, and what kind of an impact does he make for this lineup?
Well, one of the things that I think has been very big and important from him is the fact that he's made this kind of big switch onto DPS and kind of being able to come through and fill this role again. A while ago, you would have seen him playing, honestly, anything. I feel like he's one of those other players that has played pretty much anything but support through his career. But now being able to come in, have this stellar Leon that they play, and also after talking with him yesterday on Esports Weekly, kind of the mentality of like, you know what, like eventually you're going to take a loss. And if we have to take a loss to the top team, eventually they're going to have to take a loss. Like someone's going to lose. And so like they're in this mentality of we're just going to do the best we can. And if we don't think we're doing that, we're just going to grind until we're better.
Well, he loves us. He loves the camera. All smiles from him today.
And get your water. Hydrate.
Water's important.
I have already had 3/4 of a water bottle today.
Well, look at you. Look at you, Gore. Staying hydrated, staying ready to get this PPL
Stay hydrated,
day going.
Bot's really happy for me.
Let's look at FRZ God now, though. I mean, you talk about Ares being kind of the main hit scan damage dealer here on SSG. Well, FRZ God, I mean, that's he had, what, I think 2 quadras in a game the first week that they came out and played. And that's like the best that's the only thing we've seen from him really is like the high tier play that he brings. He's a guy that, you know, you can't really ban him out. You just kind of have to hope that you're able to mitigate him within the game itself.
So I think there's multiple things that go on that make him incredible. First off, he's just an amazing player. There's no doubt about it. I mean, people, they were talking about him being top 4 blaster in the world. I feel like he's even pushed that even further up to the point where he is not necessarily, I don't want to say the best. I don't know if we have a definitive the best blaster in the world until we run like a 1v1, but he is absolutely in that conversation. So you already have that behind it. And again, yesterday when I was asking Aries some questions on Esports Weekly, he was just saying, yeah, we kind of just let him play what he wants to play. Because when he's comfortable, he's going to give you the performance that you want out of him, right? If he's playing the Drogas, he's playing the Eevee, he makes it look good. And Eevee's the other one to kind of look in on, because Eevee right now has just been such a huge pick. Because we're on LAN all the time, she can change games played properly. And between that and the Drogas and just the general blaster play that Freeze God brings, it just makes SSG so deadly.
And I think the thing to look at going into today is we talk about NIP's kind of flex interesting picks. And you mentioned, well, as long as FRZ God is comfortable, you know, we'll be happy with it. And that's kind of the interaction that I'm looking forward to seeing is NIP, I mean, that's their draft strategy that we've seen up to this point is making the enemy team uncomfortable. So how they can do that today, I think, will be a big indicator on how they're able to do it and how they stack up against NIP today. We know how they're looking. Again, they look really good in their 2 games so far. Let's send it down to an interview to see how they're feeling.
All right, well, we're here with Space Station's coach, Kresnik. He's going to be joining us Monday and Tuesday as well for Cast and Death, so stay tuned for that. But today he's got a big game against NIP, and the boys are ready. I saw you guys doing a little training outside, I think, physically. So I know mentally you guys are prepped, but how are you feeling physically for this one?
I mean, after that training, pretty good. Some people hurt, but mostly legs. We don't play with our feet.
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe when you go back home to Brazil, play a little soccer, you guys can take that for
football.
Football, sorry. I want to talk about a few things. One is Atlas. How do you guys feel about Atlas as far as how he's going to impact the decisions for the draft and how much you all will value him specifically?
Assuming they're not listening to this interview. Okay.
Well, they might actually.
I think it's pretty strong right now. The rewind and everything, it's a lot of counterplay to things that really didn't have counterplay before. Also, the ability to speed your entire team, like that old Grover card that got nerfed, bringing that to. He brings a lot to the table for an off-tank that wasn't being brought before. So I expect to see him prioritized pretty highly.
The other thing about the Amani Cassie thing, it's weird. I don't think we've ever had it where you can only have one and you can't have the other. Who do you feel makes it out on top with that? Do you feel like that changes much of how people are going to draft today?
Does Amani have big game?
No.
Probably not much is going to change, I would say.
Well, then we'll have to wait and see how it actually unfolds in the match. Obviously, you guys will be pushing each other to your limits. Good luck, and hope you guys have a great day. All right, send it back to the desk.
But Kresnik has to be one of the easiest people to interview. Like, he writes his own storylines, and it's interesting to watch. But Gore, I mean, this is it. This is the two undefeated teams left in the league. I mean, you really call NIP like the undefeated team since they've played five games up to this point.
Right now.
And SSG have only had a couple, but they're still undefeated as well, and they looked really good. And I think that's an understatement in their two undefeated games. Who moves here, the unstoppable force or the immovable object? You gave it to NIP, yeah, in the picks.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that way?
I feel, honestly, you could tell me this game goes 7, and I wouldn't be surprised, because the way things are between these two teams, and specifically with NIP as a whole, they've lost 4 maps total. That first week, you could say maybe they weren't quite on the game that they're on right now, or maybe the Knights were just playing out of their mind. You don't really, I can't really break through and say this is what was the definitive marker for that. Last week, they were playing out of their mind, and Virtus.pro were playing out of their mind, and still, it was only 2 maps lost. This one, if SSG, honestly, if you come out as a 4-2, that's a win. Even for SSG. If you come out as a 4-3, that's an even better step. But if you win this set, even if you win it in a 4-3, it's probably going to be a big boost to yourself, because NIP have been and are right now the team to take down.
And I think on one hand, you look at it like, if you take a 4-2, you'll be happy. I mean, even if you end up losing today, I mean, a lot of these teams are just trying to figure out how they're drafting, how they're playing on those drafts. So if nothing else, it's just firsthand experience with playing against NIP. So over time, as the season goes on, you imagine maybe more teams will start to pick up on the meta shift and what we have going on here. Well, let's get spicy right off the bat, Gore. Let's have an Atlas first pick, first availability. Why not?
I mean, you can come through, and again, like Kresnik just said, there's a lot of counterplay ability to things that weren't something you could counter before. But the biggest things I want to say that are kind of in this draft right now, Genos has been very big for a lot of teams in these last few weeks, so you can see NIP going for that. Eevee's going to be picked up probably for Alex. But Cassie was banned, which means that Amani is open for either side.
She's fair game.
So if you want SSG to really flex on them, you pull out the Atlas Amani game 1, and then you have a stellar match.
And I think in the interview, Kresnik kind of said, well, Amani doesn't have big games, so we're never gonna prioritize.
She does have a big dragon.
She does have a big dragon, right? But we're not gonna prioritize Amani over Cassie because of how good Cassie is. But we've seen Cassie banned out a good percentage of the time here, so I wouldn't be surprised to have Amani at least on the board for a lot of the sets that we have. Whether or not she comes through or not is another question. But Atlas coming out for the first time in the PPL, first game he's available, and there he is on top of the board, pairing it with the Inara as well. I'm so excited to see sort of how his mechanics come into play here. I mean, I've played him, but obviously not at a very high level. Seeing it in this game will be interesting.
Well, one of the things that I think is going to make it a very interesting matchup, specifically against the Eevee that they have, is the fact that Atlas's Chrono Cannon charges as he holds down the shot, right? So you can charge it up and then have a single precise shot that does like 900 damage, right? That's half of Eevee's health bar. So if you are able to connect with something like that as an off-tank, you set that up for potentially more success. Leon can very easily just one-tap her right after that. But it's going to be a lot of precision, I think, for Atlas to be able to come through. Like you said, Amani coming in. And one thing Amani brings to the table that I don't think anyone else truly has that's not on an ultimate is a 20-second cooldown that could potentially cripple the entire team if thrown properly. The Frost Bomb is insanely good for her.
Gore, I mean, it looks like SSG have prepared, needless to say, going against NIP. I mean, Maeve, Atlas. I mean, if you weren't awake already, this spice is going to knock you awake because you have the Amani, Eevee, Genos on the other side. Ashen Barrack, I mean, what do you make? I'll give you a few seconds to kind of spell your thoughts out.
I'm just genuinely excited. I think having two champions that were unavailable up till now come into the mix have completely changed the pace of the game. Imani is going to be a slight switch for an EP, right? It's a comfort switch, whereas SSG are bringing in the spice, like you said.
Well, it's the battle of the undefeateds. Let's send it down to Evan and Nick to get it started.
Battle of the Undefeateds. Yeah, they haven't played yet, and technically they do have that title, but one of those titles will shift after Game 1. It's two undefeated teams, and it's also two undefeated champions here in Imani and Atlas.
I don't know which one I'm more excited for, to be honest. Never seeing Atlas before is one thing, but the first time that Imani's about to be released, I think that has me more excited because I'm not sure that she's going to be as automatic of a pick for the rest of these teams. I know NIP Lover specifically, I think it's Tenor that's going to be playing it. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see that with any other teams.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting, too, when you look at Serpent Beach as a map that has high ground, and Imani able to get to it, has to take a little bit of a wayward path, so to speak, but she is going to be one that is able to approach that high ground with that Frostfire glide. Going into those kits as well, I mean, for those who are just looking at Atlas, he is a champion that Garrett described him as a very cerebral front line. And really, when Kresnik was talking to me, he said, this is a guy that can counter things that have really never been counterable before in Paladins.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you look at particular large defensive cooldowns like an Earthen Guard being popped and a huge heal coming out on an Aura, and then you just completely set that all back. Your ultimate's fairly easy to hit, especially at this level. I cannot wait to see the level of play that you can execute. Just immediately imagine taking 3 people out of a fight like that. You don't have to kill them, and you don't kill them. It's affected by resilience. It's technically a crowd control, all of that. And, I mean, there's talents that he's got that's just bringing in so much to the game that's like, oh, my God, this is so unique. This is going to change the playing field.
And so let's talk a little bit about those talents. You've got Deja Vu, which is a basically lobbed rewind for his rewind, essentially, ability that sends somebody back in time. When they go back in time, they also stay at the lowest point of health, but they move physically where they were at that moment. You can actually change that in your cards as well. The other one, Unstable Fissure, is actually banned today, so we won't see that. So it's really going to be Temporal Divide or Deja Vu. Now, Deja Vu is that lobbed rewind, so multiple people onto a point. I'd be interested to see how they play with that. It's got a wide radius, but also Temporal Divide creates that shield that gives you the huge shield. It's actually huge. However, it is a basically 50% extra cooldown. So it goes from 14 to 21 seconds. Chronos then scales off of the 21 seconds. So if you get Chronos 3, you'll be right at about 15.7 when you come back from it.
It's colossal, guys. If you haven't seen it yet in game, there's really nothing. There's no way to describe it really, because there's nothing that even comes close to the size of what this shield does. And it's not even a shield because it's not something that can be destroyed. It's very unique. It's just a barrier that Atlas sets up. Anything that comes into contact with it is simply just destroyed. So very, very unique. You can make complete safe havens. You can see people coming. You know exactly when they're going to be pushed. Think about how people like to dance around barrack shields and things like that. That's probably the type of gameplay that it's going to promote. But yeah, I can't wait to see it. If that's the talent selection, I have a sneaking hunch that's probably going to be the one that we see.
I think Temporal Divide is it, and the reason is because when you look at
everything else is hard to leverage.
I believe it's beyond the Veil. That's the card. 50% movement speed. I've actually taken a look at some of Diggy Dog's loadouts that he had earlier on. He's got a big shield loadout I was playing with this morning, and he runs about 30 to 50% movement speed in this one, and it's for him, his allies, but it's for 5 seconds. That's a very long buff, and I mean, we've already seen them do a lot with just movement speed on Mending Spirits from Aldamba. That's one person. That's 32%. 50% for that whole team.
And when you factor in the size of the shield, it's like it's impossible not to leverage that buff.
Right.
And a lot of times that's what it comes down to with talents. Some talents can be very good, but they're just so niche, so hard to pull off.
Yeah.
That you don't really see them played very often. And it is going to be Temporal Divide. So I'm glad that we got to talk a little bit about that. Tenor playing Splitting Ice. I don't to talk about a little bit about Imani as well. I don't know that we'll see anything but Splitting Ice. When you talk about easy to leverage, this is an entirely passive effect that affects every single one of her in-hand attacks.
Big cards to focus on here. Actually, a very high quality of effort towards Paradox, or a high value of Paradox. Not the one I was talking about. Beyond the Veil old wounds. People feel like you have to have a lot of health with this guy. Continuum Shift just allows you on your second chance to go a little bit farther, make sure you might just save a little bit more health in case you started it a little late. And there's that shield. It is massive. It is also on the point, I believe. So even those on the objective, taking all that fire, were saved for a moment, and it looks like Diggy Dog is gotten really low.
33% now, dueling out on the objective, of course. This gun, so good. One of the best frontline guns. You charge it up. It does different amounts of, or shoots different amounts of projectiles based on how long you've charged it, as you can see here. There it is. That's the one projectile. Full charge, 900 damage. It can headshot. Very, very good here. And with Atlas, Space Station Gaming are wiping the floor with NIP.
And we haven't even looked at FRZ Gods. Probably the only game we probably won't be spending much time spectating them because of these new champions. And Monty, on the other side, not able to really make things happen as well. She's running Splitting Ice, Nick, and this is a character that we've had since January in the game, but has really been banned and has not been able to kind of make her effort well known. But we've seen these Permafrost, we've seen Swift Seer, we've seen Pyretic Momentum be huge cards for her.
The Frost Bomb, such an important cooldown. Tenner's pretty much just sitting in this fire or this ice stance the whole time to leverage his talent. It's an incredibly impactful cooldown though, that Frost Bomb. It's a big, big root. It's a cripple as well. It is a long, long cooldown. It does good damage if you can throw it from a decent distance as well. Amani, a very, very cool character. A lot of fun to watch, and I'm excited to see what NIP are able to accomplish with it.
Now, Kresnik has talked, excuse me, I think it was, I forget who was telling me about this in the interview, but I just want to mention that Atlas was a point tank. But what I had always imagined Atlas to be was the Khan version of a tank, an aggressive off tank to fit in with the Khans, with the Ashes, with the Ruckuses, except have a little bit more utility than the Ruckus does. Sadak is playing it that way. Rachao taking that main point, and there you go. You put him in a bad spot. He's got set back too, and he's going to use it, but he did it a little late, so he doesn't get all that health back. He still stays around 2,300.
That's a big part about those cards you can use to get flat health when you use your rewind like that, to make sure that even if I've been fighting for too long, or my window of opportunity to rewind my health is gone, I can still get something back for it.
And the one Diggy runs is actually getting that 300, I believe 320 healing per second after he activates his Temporal Divide, which means that he can throw that up, get the safety, but also get the healing during. Sadak not running that, maybe the reason he went down there to Diggy Dog himself. Tenor on the good spot for Amani. Those are projectiles. They have no fall off. They're very much like Cassie, hit for 650. And with this one, he's also going to be bouncing them off every other one.
They split, baby. They don't do quite as much damage on the split, but another completely passive effect of splitting ice. So that's one of the great things about this talent. You get the extra damage. You're charging your ultimate a little bit quicker. All that stuff comes into play. Not a lot of stacking happening here on Serpent Beach, but we'll see on like smaller maps right there. You can see
the 350.
350. Leon's got to be aware of, like, you could be killed by your teammate just getting hit by this.
Oh, and look at this. That wall comes out of nowhere, and Sadak finds Tenor a little earlier on the man from Time. Setback already used, and now getting healed up by Midtow. He's got him, excuse me, he's got the ability to rewind, but it's just not going to be utilized there. Overtime looks to be ticking away. And Alex finding a double kill on the Eevee. He's been relatively quiet, but he's on an 8 streak as well. So it doesn't mean he hasn't been doing his role.
I'm on the lookout for what does Amani coming in do to Eevee, right? That's such it's probably the most easily confirmed long duration cripple in the game. So if Eevee blinks in on this Amani, she's really, really at a high risk of being rooted out. I think really it's just going to force Eevee players to be more aware of cooldowns. It's a very, very long cooldown, the Frost Bomb is. So you have to have your teammates calling it out for you. You have to be on the lookout for it. You can hear it. It's a very loud effect. All that type of stuff. Audio is basically based on threat level. So the things that are a bigger threat to you will be louder in your mix. So on and so forth here. Nice little dueling. Sadak's doing a good job between hitting that fully charged shot and then a quick follow-up shot after, just to try and get some damage out. You suffer a ton of inaccuracy when you do it that way.
Right.
Let's ride along with the dragon here. It's the first chance we've had to see Monty Dragon. The Temporal Divide goes up.
And that's a good counter.
Dragon.
That's a good counter. I mean, this thing is very slow, and it's going to do that 170, but you got to get close to get the value, and it kept him safe, but it really just zoned, and that's the key, I think, that we're going to see. The potential to win a fight, then send that dragon out and zone, that is going to be such a hassle for dismounts, etc. We see the seismic crash, and it's actually not going to have a huge impact here, but still, Space Station Gaming with an R standing strong.
Laser beam comes out from Bird, but it won't find anyone. 42%. So 42% and climbing now. Rochelle on the objective. Temporal Divide goes out from Atlas. Tenor's trying to hit these roots. Got a lot of targets to look out here. One more shot would have been good on FRZ, but he's not able to get it, and the Dome Shield is going to lock down the low ground.
And finding these roots are going to be so huge. But as you mentioned, Nick, still 10 seconds left on the Frost Bomb, but he gets a little bit of damage on a Rochelle, and this is exactly what he wants. The Ice Storm and the Ice Bolts. Beautiful combo there from NIP to freeze over the competition.
That is brutal, man. As you can see, Tenor already back to 70% on his ultimate. The Dragon's kind of meh right now. Ares gets locked down on the objective. And Tenor's able to just kind of tee off on the Sonar Wall. Needs to find a way to be effective, though. Xiao's not going to last too much longer with all his cooldowns dead.
And he won't last at all, but they do have Sadak, and he does have a rewind. And there's a setback, and he finds the kill. Dread Serpent to buy a little bit of time, and now you can't touch the point. Eevee's gonna try to get there, stunned! Mid-Tow, beautiful play right out of the ice block, so he can contest SSG. Another one, and that was surprising to us.
I mean, after watching that, there's no better off tank in the game to hold a point than Atlas. I mean, the way he can walk up there, almost like an Inara wall, just far enough to get a foot on the objective and then lay down the law. It doesn't matter if you have 4 people looking at him, which they did. They can't shoot through it, and they're like, I don't want to get down on that objective. That's not my job. Look at the size of this wall,
It's huge, man.
It's huge. What a great angle.
And let's see, I'm very curious as to what the itemization has been for them. They are 300 credits ahead, and that's when you start looking at things like Chronos, but at a high level, you do have to prioritize some of those, dirtier, more, smarter investments, the 401ks, so to speak, of Paladins. Sadak already, though, with Cauterize 3, investing in the Bulldozer, and it now means that he's got some room to either continue that or start going into Chronos if he feels the need.
A couple of Bulldozers for these barrack turrets, as well as the Imani Dragon. That's one of the reasons we saw it. Received a ton of nerfs after it came out, the damage that it did, the speed that it moved at, and also probably the biggest one was the speed while firing. So you really, once you got on somebody before, you would stick on them. They were dead, essentially. Now, you're going to be slowed while you're attacking, so people are going to be able to get away from you unless you really get up in their face, making the Dragon pretty tough to use in a lot of situations.
Well, here's the problem. He did a beautiful setback for Bird, who was firing down in the corner, but he just was not able to get himself back into a healthy position. Playing with time's a dangerous thing, as he knows now. SSG have captured both points, but been unable to push, more so than the 50% point. So NIP holding very strong with this Imani.
It's going to take a lot of practice, I think, figuring out how to play around this Temporal Rift. It's crazy the amount of impact that you can have with such a unique ability. Alex looking for the read back. Alex knows the shot is coming, almost perfectly timed out of the ice block. Sadak doing his best to try and push forward here. 28 seconds on the clock to try and get this one through. Great shield goes down. Doesn't last too long, though, and Ares picks up the big kill on a Tenor in the back.
Oh, he has been playing phenomenally as well. Look at that setback. A little bit in time, and then the body block as well, and then the, oh my goodness, send back in time for him. A second chance indeed for Atlas as Sadak makes a huge play. They take down 2, and beautiful daggers there. Oh, almost a full 100%, and Sadak just cleans it up. Ares really opening things up for SSG.
There it is. Now they have to worry about this Maeve on the high ground. There it is, the Dome Shield. The big emergency break has been pulled by NIP. They don't really have too much else to fall back on here. They don't want to pop a Serdamus if they don't have to.
Oh, seismic crash as well. Nick, I think they've got the momentum. They just got the Dome Shield, and there is the Midnight. I don't think Bird can hold this. It looks like a 3-1 is inevitable here, but look at Diggy Dog. Do they go for anything fancy here? I mean, they don't have the setback, and they don't need it. SSG, they're going to push it through.
A couple of ultimates spent by SSG. But my goodness, they've still got Atlas ult, they've still got Leon ult, they've still got resources to work with here.
Yeah.
NIP, the undefeated squad that has played everyone but the Brazilians. It's looking like they're going to give them a run for their money here.
And we are seeing the power of Atlas, aren't we? Holy moly, we are. Just incredible stuff. And as a coordinated team, don't expect to do this in your casual games, but as a coordinated team, that shield feels so impactful. And not too impactful, but very impactful in the same way that, Earthen Guard is a crazy ability for an R. She just doesn't die. Barrack, he's got that reset of the rocket boots. But it feels like a new threat has certainly entered the realm in Atlas.
Nice jumps here from the DPS boys. Get yourself out to the to the fight a little bit quicker. Shots are going to miss here. Diggy moving up, does have his assert dominance.
Ooh.
Might be looking to set up Tenor here for some more damage once this Temporal Rift goes down.
And they really hide in that corner. This is a big strategy we see a lot of players do. He's just going to dash back, doesn't get any stuns. And here's the thing, you can hit the setback on that, and in fact, he just exiles him. Interesting choice. He might have tried to do it midair. I'm curious about that. Maybe that's why he activated it, but either way, doesn't get much from the ultimate there, and here's the Dragon from Imani.
I don't know if it's going to be able to find anything. It's so slow.
It's his zone, though.
A little bit of damage
Oh.
there from the setback. but
Second chance.
All in all, not much done.
Love it, love it, love it. And that's exactly what, he wanted to do. He wanted to bait that.
Big
But
root.
oh, there it is. The Frost Bomb. Can it find anything? There is an Enlightenment from Leon as well. I feel like I'm just naming every ability in Paladins at this point because there's so much going on. Earthen Guard into the wall. And the Warder's Guard as Warder's Field as well, just warding off Bonker, but he finds the kill.
Nice boots around there. This is it. NIP with the comeback mechanic doing a good job to come back. Overtime looks like it will expire in their favor. Will be brought to a 3-2.
And I mean, just very strong back and forth from these two teams. And it really was the right pace for a fast cap fight. Diggy Dog on a 5 streak somehow didn't die throughout that engagement, although it looked like he was in trouble most of it. But that's the sign of a really good off tank. So they can tread that line.
Man. So far, pretty damn fast, pretty large, 850 damage, free mitigation. Like, these things hurt, these splitting ice autos. That's really what I think Imani is strongest at, is just sitting there and auto-attacking.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, maybe 650, might be 850. Maybe she's getting that. I think she's getting that Luminary buff there as well. So you're right. I mean, that combo with that damage amp is just, I mean, that's not intended, that's for sure. So she's taking advantage of it. Rachao here holding down that left side and just poking away at the Stone Spear at Bonker. Here's Diggy Dog again with the Street Style Ash. Wall's available, not going to use it here. Doesn't find the need. Save it for maybe a better time. But he's running out of defensive cooldowns. This is a good time for it, but NIP, they're right on him.
There's a lot of momentum coming through. Not anything to fall back on, and trapped in the corner. Not where you want to be. Ice block. A couple of seconds, one more, 2 more shots for the support, and they both miss. Nice strafing there from Matau.
Yeah, just kind of dodge left, fake right, went a little bit more left. Alex is expecting him to come back there. It's NIP's turn to try to tie it up, and Sadak is low. It's one thing about the second chance. It doesn't say you get a third chance, so if you use it at the wrong time, you will not be coming back to life, or at least your second life will be very short-lived.
Matau split up from his support right now. With this little pocket in the back steps has been a pretty valuable position to hold for the defense because it forces the NIP, if they want to push out without first securing this back pocket, then they're getting shot in the back of the head. Heals are coming from back here. Everyone's not in one spot, and you do maintain line of sight on the majority of this fight. So I like this positioning here for FRZ and for Matau.
And he's been doing really well on the Leon. And this duel actually just shifted the way of Alex because he hit that shot with Luminary. And Ares is going to actually bite off a little more than maybe he could chew. But again, that pressure is something that Alex is going to have a hard time kind of going against. And now he's pushing on a Tenor, but the dash, that looks like it's going to go the way of Tenor, and it does. You have to. 80 damage. 80 health to his name. And the spray.
The fist pump and spray there. Frost bomb around the wall.
It's Sadak.
It'll hit 1, but on the high ground, still 2 remain. Needing to be worried about, needing to be dealt with. Big shots here. Tenor wants to push.
And he wants to go for it. He's going to find it. That wall maybe saves Midtown because one more auto would have done it. Alex has to clean it up, and then Ares is able to follow there. Man, having such a big impact in so many ways. Ways they probably didn't even know.
Great defense there from Space Station Gaming. But NIP looking like they want to play the slow game. They are not a team that wants to drag a game out longer than it has to be. And they're very good at smelling blood in the water. They're very good at finding an opportunity to be like, all right, this is it. We can pop ults here. We can end this. But whether it's a ton of respect for SSG or just not wanting to take the risk, they have saved every single ultimate that they have for this next fight.
It's going to be important to see how they all kind of mesh together. Tinder's played a very nice backline damage roll, and you can see the impact. Kresnik said, do they have big game? Maybe it was throwing them off, because this Imani seems to be doing everything Cassie might have done without maybe the quick burst mobility that Cassie can almost do consecutively. But these Luminary shots are really throwing the plan, and it maybe forces a temporal, a stasis field, excuse me, a little bit early.
There it is. Comes out on the low ground. Bomb won't root Rashao because he just earth and guard it. Bouncing. Look at all the exiles.
Wow, nice. Very good.
Opportunity there to slow down Block. Here comes the Dragon. They know SSG are looking for the push here. But the Dragon is just something you physically
Bulldozer.
cannot push into.
But you need they have the bulldozer, Nick. That's the big reason why Sadak was investing. If we look at the itemization, have there been more members on the side of SSG who have grabbed that bulldozer? And yes, there's all 4. So that dragon is null and void at this point.
Pretty much. It's very, very difficult. I expect it just to be used just how Tenor saw. Long distance bomb here.
Got him!
3. Tenor wants to push it. You can see him calling it out furiously. They're reading Alex. They're waiting for him to blink in, but they're not looking at Tenor.
And there's that second chance. Sadak, what are you going to do with it? Nothing. Tenor's going to take it away and end this moment in favor of the Queen. It's a song of ice and fire, but this time it's Tenor is the rider.
That is insane. That is literally the ideal scenario for that splitting Isamani to be in. 3 people rooted. For some reason, they were so concerned with Alex, too. They did not want to look at Tenor, but Tenor's the one who's the threat in that scenario. He's cleaving every single one of those autos onto multiple targets. He just rips them to pieces.
And I feel like that's an adjustment. Nice shot there from Alex. It's going to be needing to be made. And whether it's a dive, I mean, the aggression has been on NIP's hands, and it's simply because Tenor gets 2-3 shots off it. Does about 3,000 damage over the course of Space Station Gaming's team, so we'll have to see how that works. It's 3-3, and now Space Station in trouble. NIP 50% of the way with a couple of kills.
I really see the Dragon being useful at the end of this payload push when nobody has a choice but to stand or be clumped on these little back stairs. If Tenor can sneak a Dragon through here and get in somebody's face, he'll die very, very quickly. That's not going to change, but he needs to find a way to get some damage or some zoning value out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big key. And what's really actually been great is the fact that mid-fight he's been able to pull that Dragon off. And you're right, they're going for it here, and he's trying to at least isolate someone. Sadak is going for the second chance, but he's not going to get one. This has been the story of the last couple of minutes. Tenor making them pay on these cooldowns. The Dragon may have just been enough to damage Space Station Gaming's defense, and it is NIP. Wow, against all odds, they're going to clean this one up and take game 1.
Well done there, NIP. Big bounce back performance out of the gate. SSG looking very difficult to deal with, but calm, cool, and collected the whole time. NIP managed to fight their way back. Just maybe figuring out how to play a little bit more around this massive temporal divide that Atlas was bringing to the battlefield. Like we said multiple times, this is an incredibly unique ability that is going to change the face of the game.
All right, well, let's send it back to the desk and break down a very eventful game 1.
Thank you, guys. And what an exciting game 1 to watch. NIP jumping out to the 1-0 lead here. Gore, we had 2 of the new champions in this game.
Yeah.
We had the Amani, we had the Atlas. How did you feel about them either way?
Honestly, Atlas looked great at the beginning, but what happened is over time, NIP figured out how to kind of isolate Sadak, how to stop him from being as effective, which was essentially Amani. She locked him down. She would kind of isolate him, force him to throw up his stasis field very early on so that he couldn't use that around the objective, and then they just burst the Inara while that's up, turn their attention back to the fight, kind of lock Space Station Gaming away on their own high ground.
Right.
And once he was out of the equation, Bittner had so much room. He was just able to do whatever he wanted. And of course, like, you know, his talent was prioritizing like his ice stance, so he stayed in that most of the time. Didn't really switch around for the pyro cannon, but like, imagine the fact that technically Amani does have a little burst, still more burst in her kit coming through, but the way that he played it and the way that he was kind of focused on it and the way they switched to prioritize Sadak early on made the big difference for him.
Well, the guy and the champion we kind of wanted to look at the end of this game, of course, Bittner had a nice triple kill, had a lot of damage, might have ended the game top damage. I mean, we know how the Amani looked.
Yes.
What did you kind of get from the play style? Did you see anything interesting out of the Amani? What do you think moving forward about this champion?
I'm a little curious to see if this is going to be the only talent that like sees competitive play, which we do see with some champions, because admittedly this ice stance, specifically having it split through and being able to damage multiple people, especially with a luminary boost on you, means that your damage numbers are going to be out of the roof, right? You find triple kills, double kills constantly because of this scenario. But we have seen people, or specifically at the high level, kind of play around with some of the other loadouts, being able to go for it. I think the biggest thing to note is the fact that you're not playing around the Dragon. Like, the Dragon is your ult. The Dragon looks awesome. It feels pretty cool. But as they said during the cast, like, the damage is really good, but you're slow when you're firing. You're slow in general. And, of course, Bulldozer is good now when it specifically comes to beating down the Dragon. So that health bar, even though it seems like a massive number, it dies so fast.
It does. I mean, Bittner made it look good. And IP jump out to the 1-0 lead here. Space Station Gaming, though, I mean, that was a 4-3. Space Station almost looked poised to take the entire game right off the bat there. NIP showing some resilience on the backside of the fight, though. All smiles in the NIP booth. Look forward to game 2.
Same.
I still hope
was
Atlas
a treat.
comes through. I know it was a treat. It was such an exciting way to start off the day. Frozen Guard is where we're headed for map number 2. Do you think? I guess the Atlas can kind of work on whatever map depending on how the team is feeling. Maybe an Imani yet again. I think the Imani though the Cassie ban comes through. That's what I was going to talk about. I was going to mention the Cassie. The ban comes out, so Imani still certainly on the table now for either team. The Maeve as well off the board. You know, like last week we would have considered Maeve maybe an interesting pick, and Maeve was actually in the game last game, but there were just so many more exciting things to look at, I think.
True.
The Cassie Maeve, though, NIP just taking those right off the table.
Here's the big question. What do you ban here, right? Is Atlas a big enough threat that you take him out? Do you get rid of him, but then you leave open Khan, you leave open Torvald? Like, it's that big thing. Where does he fall? Because that's the question I would like. That's one of the first things I wrote down. He's obviously top priority right now. He can do so much if you don't handle him properly. And so they leave open Torvald, they leave open Khan, they leave open Atlas, and that's beautiful for SSG here because NIP can take one of the 3, right? The other 2, SSG can grab up if they want, but Torvald Atlas is a very iffy pickup. Atlas can't really point tank, and Torvald is not the best point tank, so they're both going to be playing off if they do that.
And then again, when you look at the flip side, then it potentially goes over to NIP to pick up the remainder.
It's a dangerous game to play.
It's a dangerous game, and that just shows even 2 more champions into the pool. Well, that mixes things up a good bit here. The Barrack being prioritized ban-wise here. We talked about the point tank kind of priority here, and Nara looking like it's going to be pick number 1 for SSG, and then the question becomes, well, do you bother with the Atlas, bother with the Imani? I mean, Khan Atlas would be a pretty strong duo. Both those champions sort of similar. They get the Torvald. They prioritize that over the rest. So that opens up some interesting composition options, I think, for SSG. But now NIP, I mean, they still have kind of the whole range of frontliners outside of Nara now. They have the Ashe. They could go Atlas if that's the direction they want to go. They need some solid tankiness, though.
This is actually a very interesting area to dance around in for SSG and for NIP because Inara Torvald, like Inara is great as a point tank. Torvald is great at facilitating any flank you put with him, which, as we've seen, Freeze God and Eevee here could be devastating. Maeve being banned out means it's going to be a little bit difficult to pull something like that into it and give her the boost. And if Eevee gets taken away, you're going to have to maybe reach deeper into your pocket. Maybe look for something like a Zen to try and get that damage on like a Yomi strike. But when it comes down to defending, Frozen Guard is one of those maps that has, as of late, kind of escalated. Most teams that pick it do really well on it. They can find a 4-1, maybe a 4-2 victory. But Inara Torvald is incredibly defensive. It is very good, and on this map, it makes it a lot easier to just say, okay, cool, you're not going to come up to our base. Like, you're just not going to get past us. We are a literal wall.
We are a literal wall. Well, you know what's good at breaking... Never mind. I was going to go straight into spoilers there, but
that was last season.
I know,
if
but
people haven't caught up that far, you're doing something wrong.
Well,
I was about to spoil it just to
so you know what's really good at breaking walls, and then we're gonna leave it there.
If you've seen season 7 of Game of Thrones, you know the answer.
There we go. That's the diplomatic way of looking at it.
And if you haven't, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Season 8's already 3 episodes in. Come on.
That's that was good. I'm proud of the way we handled that one. The Atlas getting hovered here for NIP. They could get the Khan. They could get the Atlas. Eyebrows raised for Bunker. I like the Atlas pickup. I mean,
the idea that he'd be surprised about it.
Like, whoa. For his own pick. Khan Atlas, I mean, that's a strong... We haven't seen it yet because, well, it's his first roundabout games. That'd be a strong 1-2 kind of hybrid tanky pick there if they choose to go this way.
I could say that's probably, of 2 front lines, that'd probably be the highest DPS. I don't know. It might, like, you maybe could change out Khan. Like, you could probably change either 3 of them for, like, Ruckus and Ashe, right? You could just, like, have 4 interchangeable front lines with damage. But, like, the thing that Atlas brings and the things that they were touching on, during the cast, and we kind of got to touch on while we were talking about it before, it's just a giant wall that is not a shield that will nullify your shots. As well as the fact that he's got a very high damaging left click, just basic shots that come through. They grab the Imani as well. So that one's Bittner feeling comfortable. The one before it was the reason I think it took him a while to maybe kind of lock that one in was like the decision making. Do we feel confident enough to take this? Like, can we run this? Because the one thing that's interesting about him, and Cerebral was a very good way. I think Evan said Garrett put it that way. That's how I would describe NIP as well when it comes down to their play. But he has 4 different kinds of primary fire based on how long you charge his shot.
Right.
And knowing which one of those to use in the moment is going to be very heavy on the player.
Saw a little bit of everything sprinkled into Atlas in the last game. They get the Imani as well as the Atlas.
After a few good
And Genos and EVA and Khan on the side of NIP.
Yeah, that's kind of
But then you get Bomb King Leon, Torvald, and Nara Damba. I think we just got to get used to seeing really high-powered offenses coming into some of these games here. How do you look at it either way?
I'm going to say this in 2 ways. So much for the burst meta disappearing.
Yeah.
And also, Bomb King and Leon with a Torvald bubble is insane damage.
It is.
Khan, Eevee, Atlas, Imani, any of those if you give a Luminary boost is insane damage. So on one side, I think NIP have maybe a little more win conditions to be able to push this game. Imani and Eevee kind of being able to bounce through. Worked for them last game, but you have to be ever present and
That's
ever
true.
fearing of the Bomb King from Freeze God.
Well, they talk about it being the meta of pressure. And, well, we got 2 lineups that'll do just that. Game number 2 about to get underway. NIP snag game number 1. SSG looking to answer back. Let's send it down to your casters.
Threatening, to say the least. Both lineups look like not a lineup you'd want to walk next to in a dark alleyway. They can take you down real fast. Better to stay away. But they're going up against each other this time on Frozen Guard. Nick, and who do you think has the edge?
I'm looking at all this Luminary damage here, and I'm looking at this just being hard to push into, right? I don't know how effective this Torvald is going to be against Atlas, and the reason why is because a lot of times what is so great about this Torvald bubble is that it really allows you to just turn your brain off with whatever you're playing, your Xin, your Koga, even your Bomb King, right? You're very high HP, now made even higher and more dangerous. People are more often not running away from you.
Sure.
But if that's why I kind of wanted them to pick a Xin, right? Because I feel like Xin has the best chance of being able to kind of deflect that rewind and stay in the fight, whereas if Freeze God just tries to W key in, he's just going to get full rewinded out of that fight, and like that setback is going to be so difficult to deal with, I feel like, for a Torvald bubble.
Yeah, I could see that too. I feel like there's a lot of moments where you can get, if you're a very cooldown heavy character, you could really have a great experience with your setback happening to you and be able to, like, you know, Zen counter it out. But if you also are a guy that's like relying on that to work and it doesn't work and you get set back, everything about Zen could go away. You could be out of cooldowns. You could be back in a bad position when you have traversed with your world, maybe after your billow's been done, after your counter's been waited out, and you're like, okay, I was supposed to be living here, now I'm not. And that's a big set. But I think that when you look at Exile too, one of the things I thought of immediately is Exile onto Torvald. You can kind of take away the Torvald bubble just by keeping him banished. You can banish him multiple times.
I want to see the ult be effective this game.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel the impact. I only saw it once last game.
Right.
It's something that can be heavily mitigated by resilience, and NIP did pick up a decent amount of it, but it won't be useless, I don't think. Even if they do pick up resilience, you can hit the same person multiple times, so you'll go from like locking down 3 people during a fight to being like, well, I really want this guy, so I'm just going to like sit here and just say, hey.
Yeah. Hey. And it's got a, I believe it's got a 1 second. This ability has a 1 second minimum duration, although it's 4 seconds usually that you are banished. Do it multiple times. When you activate it, 40% taken away, 20% per each shot used. And so you can kind of like activate like a Victor Barrage, take a little penalty, but if you don't find the right person exile, cancel it out and keep on playing. I'm worried about what these champions mean in connection to the players playing them, because Diggy and Bonker on Khan and Atlas, that sounds scary.
Of course, Diggy's still finding a way to be effective on his Ashe. Very curious to see, right, what he does with it, right? Because that's the fun of watching these new characters. It's like, all right, well, how is he going to play it? What are they going to do? Is this going to be, you know, Temporal Divide again? Are we going to see a different talent picked up here? To be honest, I don't really think so. I think, you know, Divide is just so easy to get value for. It's just so damn good. And without it, the stasis field is like pretty small, in my opinion. Yeah, it's pretty small. It's not super easy to make use of.
It is, and that's why I'm just worried. I'm worried about how this is going to be countered itemization-wise. We're seeing so many things around Atlas be characteristic of resilience, either negating them or being huge factors in what allows him to succeed if people don't buy resilience against him. And this is one of those things where you have 2 smart teams with 2 smart coaches who are going to do those things every single game. So how do you manage not just the basics, but then the min-max of the the counter, I guess, on the counter that these teams will be doing.
It's going to be window-based, and that's why I think this is going to be a tough comp to play against early on. The Imani Atlas, same time, not coming out, but coming into the PPL. They're two characters with stupid strong CDs, but they're also stupid long cooldowns. So you have to be super aware, and that's not something you've really had to do against. Like, you're playing against the Eevee, right? Blink, 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 blink. Okay, yeah, we're not really paying attention to that cooldown, but with Frost Bomb, your temporal divides, those things that you have to pay attention to and look for your windows to go off of those being down.
Well, taking a look at movement as well, I feel like the way NIP like to play Atlas will probably fit nicely with them because they love getting almost overly aggressive very quickly and then being able to somehow make their way back, and almost no better way to do that than to look at getting back with a, second chance to go all the way back, traverse that distance, get that health back. And I wonder, I believe it will be Diggy who's playing, and this is just obviously I'm partial because I saw him have 5 loadouts for NIP today going into the set with Atlas.
He's going to be Dig.
And so I feel like this will be something that it'll be interesting to see if he tries to play him more points, or if they both just have a different style of how they want to go about it.
I think a cool thing that you can do with it, it's looking like he's going for Deja
Hold on.
And off the back of, like you're just talking about, getting very aggressive and forcing people to think, oh, he's dead, let's get after him, and out he goes.
Well, Deja Vu is could be extremely dangerous, but it might just be a little switch up. Let's take a look at the loadout here for Diggy Dog, of course, to kind of see how he's going to be running this Atlas as well, the main tank that we've been talking about today, because that's a lot of the story. So this one is about Old Wound. So this is a loadout that he has that really is about sending someone very, very, kind of staying healthy, getting that healing from the Lost Legacy
being
Shield.
Healthy. That's all it is.
And so this is reminding me more of his point tank potential, at least to be able to substitute it. He might have more of a mid-range style as well.
Oh, did you see that headshot? My goodness gracious, look at these. Big damage coming out early on.
Yeah.
He is really getting into the mix. Look at this damage coming out. I think that's an early record. It's the only way he can be hitting quite so hard against the bubbles. My goodness gracious. Diggy Dog slowed down. It almost looks like 2 cons coming at you around the corner, the way these skins look in silhouette mode.
And let's let's just guarantee or confirm, that he is still running Deja Vu. It looks like it is. Yep, he absolutely is. Otherwise, that wall would be a lot bigger. And so this is an interesting style. We'll see it being more of a lob projectile here. NIP in full control with a lot of aggressiveness to start this fight off. Oh, he got caught a little bit.
Just going to hit the rewind. NIP grab this one. Another field goes out. It's that AoE rewind. There it is. Pop King, hands up, my friend. It's super funny to kind of watch that happen, but it looks like the Torvald bubble persists even through the setback, though.
Wow.
Interesting to note.
And the thing is about it, it's like, yes, it is returning them to their lowest point in health. It's returning them physically to where they were, and that could be away from the point. As we see a little moment of Frost stance there, trying to capitalize on Sadak being lifted, but he's still alive. But then we also, I think, get a chance to look at the ability for that to stop the damage that's incoming. Whereas the Bomb King, FRZ trying to push him, he also just had to not be doing damage to him for the duration of that rewind. So resilience is going to be huge here, and keeping their DPS up and just staying alive.
Very, very interesting mechanic. I'll be honest, I haven't really seen the setback. One time last game, I was like, damn, that was a really good setback. But so far, I think it'll be really good when, if 3 people are trying to storm and take back, the point, and then he just lobs one in and sends them all away. It's almost like more of a zone control thing, I think, when you're running the AoE one.
Yeah, and it can also be this really nice, just kind of like, you're chasing someone, or a lot of these fights are like this, where you do something that maybe someone retreats away from the process of the fight and goes around the corners, getting healed up. You can lob, and that gives you that AoE angle, kind of like Royal Subjects around a map that Royal Subjects is usually pretty good. And you can get him back out into the open.
Sneaking.
A nice little flank here.
The flanking dragon.
Don't look at me!
I don't know. Ooh, he's got below line of sight, though. He's going to be able to put a lot of pressure onto Sadak. The dragon does just copious amounts of damage.
Yeah.
So if it can get in there, which so far it hasn't, it's going to do some crazy, crazy damage.
Yeah, this has been a little bit in the favor of NIP, to say the least. They've got to step down. The Torvald has not been what they've been hoping for. Finally, he gets a little bit of a bubble. Nice damage from around the corner. Grumpy Bomb is ready. He's going to Poppy, then Grumpy, then get the shield, then heal up in base. It's min-max to perfection from FRZ God, but Alex just catches him off guard.
Here it is. Up in the faces. Diggy feeling good about that one. My goodness gracious. NIP come out swinging on Frozen Guard.
Because this is atypical.
That was a very, very good start to that point fight. I want to see what this NIP composition can do when it's not on the front foot. If they get put under some pressure. If FRZ gets rolling. Because in that first round, he really didn't.
And there's two things that NIP have consistently been using as well. I mean, one is the fact that they've got this aggressive style. The other is with the Amani. The Frost Bomb has been a huge setup for them. It's just been, you know, we saw that triple kill from Tenor in the last round. And we're seeing it here where Bonker and Digidog, they have so much damage on these front lines. And it just becomes easy pickings for Alex and Tenor to clean these kills up.
It is. Frostbomb is slightly lower than like an ultimate level setup. It's an incredibly long cooldown, but it is just, it cannot be understated how incredibly impactful that ability can be, especially at pro levels of play where, you know, when you lock somebody down, it's essentially a death sentence for these guys.
So now they're waiting for the overpower because they have been a little bit more patient. Usually we see NIP kind of taking the aggressive stance, and now the overpower could come through because it's a guaranteed angle. Gonna try to throw Sadaki, hits him off the wall, and that will work. Tenor finds the final hit on that. Rachao now forced to run away, but there's the setback, and Tenor gets the kill. That's the benefit of that ability.
Nice field there.
Nice.
Just make sure that that Grumpy Bomb doesn't go off. Everything, nothing can make it through.
Wow.
And a big ol' headshot.
1467.
Wow, these shots from Digidog. He's cracking a smile. This is just too much from NIP.
They just really underestimated, I think, the value of Atlas here, and they knew the Torvald was a threat, but they just didn't understand the huge threat there, and I think it might have actually hit a few people.
That was so funny. That's super BM.
Get
back in spawn.
It's Amani, too. I mean, it's not just this Atlas. I mean, Amani was a terror, and really, I think the reason they won the last game. So now both of them, my goodness.
I'm curious to see if anybody else pulls it out, though, because talking to them in the break room yesterday, they said Atlas for sure everyone should be playing, but Imani was kind of like, made it seem like it was their thing. Like, not everyone's going to have it. Big rewind here. Digidog stays in the fight, and a setback
just to buy time.
Thrown out onto Leon. He's still going to go down. FRZ got from the low ground, finally getting rolling here. SSG with something to say.
And what really hurts, I think, SSG at this lineup is that Rachao has to play you know, Torvald. I just think this just hurts him because Sadak is really so much better in the aggressive role, and Rachao is so much better in the point tank role, and Rachao not doing that means that Sadak can't do what he usually does. There's really not a lot of space being created by these front lines for SSG to fight in.
You know what I'd love to see? Throw down a more aggressive dragon and just save stasis field to protect Amani. Like, nobody can dive her. The dragon's going to be right there. You throw a stasis field in front of either the dragon to try and get the dragon a little bit closer, because right now it's struggling with the nerf duration that it has from when it released and the slower movement speed. It's really just not getting there in time. It's forcing SSG back, which is valuable, but
yeah,
there's definitely more to be discovered there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, right now the easy, obvious value is people have to run away from it. You know, it's like a Grumpy Bomb. You got to run away at least. It'll buy a little bit of time, and it's a bigger version of that, where it's a looming threat, but it is escapable. However, I'm not sure about these two. Amani and Atlas seem to be unescapable. They seem to really be the inevitable ones here.
There it is. My goodness gracious. Into the fire stance
Just
here.
flossing.
Tenor's going to go out swinging. And that might be a, you know, he stayed basically in frost stance all but 2 times, and when he was about to die, that's been the only time he switched. The flame cannon, the inferno cannon is so dangerous, but you do have to stay in, so that could be like her last ditch effort, just to pour out as much damage as possible.
And really, I mean, it's damage here. It's absolutely correct. 13 seconds left. NIP want to win right here, for sure. They don't want to give SSG another chance. They're going to be going all in. That's what I would expect if I'm Sadak, and I would want to get overpowered here. I would not try to seismic crash too early, because that could be the one thing that saves you from being tossed off. 1,000 damage there, and you see the stasis field come up.
Look at this. I mean, these are the quick shots coming out from Digidog, so pretty good stuff. Nice second chance to make sure he doesn't get stunned out there. AoE setbacks as well onto the high ground.
They got a touch.
But FRZ God's not feeling the heat from that.
Oh, that's a good hyper beam. They're trying to buy enough time, and he pulls him off, throws him in the air, then the recharge into the nullify. Somehow they're making this work, but it's just very, very slim pickings for SSG. Aries with a triple kill, but Diggy Dog with the double setback off of Deja Vu. Can he turn it around?
There it is. Another second chance will come through. Looks like Diggy does go down.
Wow.
And SSG will defend. Question is, if that overpower gets Torvald off of the map, or even dunks him for damage on the low ground, and he gets that kill, does that offense go through?
Or if Bonker just stays alive. I mean, because basically, yeah, he didn't go off the map, but then he shot him, nullified, and then killed him. And so the Con couldn't get a battle shout out. I mean, he's got a lot of sustain if he can just stay alive. Very, very close point fight. You see the value of Deja Vu as well. 2 looks at 2 of the talents that are available, and they've all been fantastic. Headshots.
Come on, bro.
I want to mess with those on the Chrono Cannon.
That's insane. That's a tank. That's a frontliner headshotting you for 1,400 damage.
With Luminary.
How can you contest that bad boy? Look at that. Master Riding comes out as well. A little bit of Rejuvenate. He's running like the Rejuvenate loadout card as well. So Diggy Dog is going to be still receiving a decent chunk of healing.
Uh-oh.
He's headed straight for Leon.
Yeah, that's not a good matchup for anybody. I mean, oh, nice exile. He's going to do it. Double exile here. Oh, he tried. Oh, he got Mittal as well. Yes. Perfect. No healing, no damage. Mittal gets the easy one shot, and he already gets the kill into the second chance. Beautiful play from Diggy. And there's the rewind. The setback into the headshot.
Oh. And
set it up.
That's how that ability is designed. If you set somebody back and immediately start charging your Chrono Cannon, frame perfect, that fully charged shot is going to come through the second that target becomes hittable once again.
Yep, and FRC he almost gives his life there. I think that's it.
They scrambled.
And it's a very hard map to lose one fight on and then try to get back and contest. NIP take game 2, and this time it is very convincing.
So much utility there. That was like such great exiles from Diggy Dog up on the high ground. It's like almost textbook what you look at. One of the most valuable DPS players just locked down for like 8 seconds. Hits the healer as well. You mentioned no healing. That's a huge benefit to them, especially with Inara trying to survive on the low ground there. SSG scratching their heads.
Well, he hits the and that's what I love, the double setback, exile, onto the Leon, then to Mittal, then to Leon, kills Mittal, setbacks that
was nuts.
Who was it? It was Aries,
Leon
I think.
again.
And then headshots him. I mean, that was literally 3 people that he just by himself. Perfect utility of the kit. You know, Atlas is really showing up to be a threat in a big way, and we can't talk about it enough. We'll see how he impacts the next set, as obviously it's SSG time to pick first and pick their map. So let's send it back to the desk and start talking.
2-0 it is here for NIP. Undefeated so far is the Amani. Diggy Dog getting Atlas up to a 50% win rate for his 2 games seen so far. Top damage in the game, the Amani yet again. Oh no, Aries had just a little bit more on the Leon, but showing that she can hang damage-wise is the Amani. 8-5-14, 11-3-11 for Diggy on the Atlas. Lots of things to break down on the NIP side. They just look really good right now, Gore.
Really what I wrote down was that just between Bittner, between Diggy Dog, between Frostbomb and the Rewind, NIP are just shooting threes all day. Like, they're just lobbing things into the back line of SSG constantly. And there were so many moments where that's going to make a big difference. I mean, a Frostbomb does pretty good chunk of damage, but it's also going to root, right? Then the Rewind, it's one of those things that, yeah, you can hit multiple people with it here, but a lot of the time there was shots that were coming down from Diggy where he's like, I need you out of here, and this is just going to make it easier to hit that guy and move him back.
And time and time again, the one point that they lost here was an offensive push that didn't go in their favor. And just having the Atlas there extended that fight out so much. It took like 2, maybe even 3 respawns from Space Station in their own base to finally seal up that fight. Just being able to rewind yourself. The stasis field is massive. I was kind of commenting on how wild of an ability that is. You can essentially just stand behind it and shoot all day long, and you're not really in any danger. It's a crazy champion. They showed how to deal with it in game number 1. Then they take it under their own wing and win here in game number 2.
If you're not running the talent, if you're running something like Deja Vu, right? It's about the size, maybe, I think it's around the exact size of Fernando's shield. So it's same idea. It's going to be not moving. This is the only word I can think. Static, where you place it on the map. That's going to be kind of like where it stands, but as they said earlier, probably dance around it kind of like you would imagine a Torvald shield. It's not going to be quite as big as a Torvald shield, but it does way more. I mean, very early in that game, Diggy Dog holds on to that. A Grumpy Bomb gets thrown at him, and he just pops it up. Grumpy Bomb disappears.
And he's shown time and time again, or yeah, I guess time and time, 2 separate times why he's potentially a high priority champion. Going into Jaguar Falls here for game number 3. And I mean, the picks and bans phases the last 2 games today, just with the addition of 2 new champions into the pool, has made things interesting. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. They realize that it's tough to deal with, so they get rid of it. Ban number 1 off the board. Atlas goes away, but again, this is what we talked about kind of in reverse in last pick and ban phase. You ban him out, but now there's so much more that's available. Even just one more potential champion that's available. We'll have to see which direction NIP choose to go to see truly who's still available. The Amani has been huge for NIP in this case, especially for Bittner. He had a triple kill in game number 1, huge damage numbers. Second highest damage in the game last game on the Amani as well. So obviously one of NIP's higher priority picks. It's going to be the Khan. So Amani is still around, but Cassie is still around as well. Remember, they can't be played on the same team.
But they can still be picked.
They can still be picked, just on opposite teams here. So the Cassie's still around as well as the Imani. But if a team shows us one or the other, that'll let us know which direction they choose to go. Genos first off the board.
You know, I'm going to throw out this Atlas ban as SSG made Atlas look pretty cool on map number 1. And then Diggy Dog showed him what it can do. Right, that was like Diggy, like that was a haha, that's cute, and then he came through and just demolished him. Like that's the only way I can describe that. He had such a huge impact throughout that game that it became down to we can't play it at that level, and we might not want to first pick it because they can beat ours at like where we're playing it.
That's true.
But if we let them have it, it will ruin us. Like there's no other way to describe this.
And that's 11-3 and 11 was the slash line last game, so. For very good reason, they're taking that off the board here. So Cassie goes over to SSG here, which of course means that Amani cannot go to SSG. Still available to NIP. Barrack Ash, though, first 2 off the board. Damba. This kind of raises an eyebrow in the sense that looks oddly standard. I was going to say a Pip's going to come out here for Bittner, and there it is. Jaguar Falls. He had a beautiful Evil Mojo a few weeks ago on it. One of the, I guess, now more traditional champions. For Bittner is the Pip. They get the Ruckus on the other side as well. What do you think NIP rounds out their... I guess it depends on this final pick here. We'll see the Ruckus.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was them potentially going for an Amani again. I mean, at this point, like you look at it, Leon's still available. Shaolin was somewhere we saw people going, and specifically Bittner going to. But, I mean, he's comfortable on Imani. If you just run the exact same thing you've been running the last couple of games, she's going to fit in just fine. You might not need the high ground mobility as much. Like, you might not need everything in her kit, but she's still really good. So there's not too much of a reason to look past her. Shaolin would be good. Leon would be good. They have a lot of options, which I think is why they grabbed the Pip first. Because they were like, okay, cool, get the shutdown, get our 4 core online, and then put Bittner on whatever the hell he wants.
Come here, grumpy boy.
I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, that's how NIP have been playing the past. I guess this would be game number 6 for them. The past 5 games, it's been essentially, all right, let's draft some really strong, rock-solid frontliners.
Okay, that's not one I mentioned.
Let's throw people off the board. Tyra it is. Tyra, Pip are the 2 damage dealers here for NIP. Ruckus, Bomb King, Inara, Cassie, Genos are the 5 here for SSG. How do you feel about him, Gore?
I like SSG's lineup, I think, a little more, honestly. I think Tyra comes in, and I think she might be like the equalizer for this to be able to kind of balance out the fact that Genos is going to help kill it off. But NIP have one thing that is incredibly strong, and that is they have 2 champions that, with their kits, are tank killers. Pip, Evil Mojo, gets rid of an Inara Ruckus pretty fast. Tyra, using her marks, more than likely on the Inara and the Ruckus, means that it's going to be a lot easier to burn them down quicker.
Well, it's a bit of a return to normalcy, I guess, in the grand scheme of things as far as picks and bans go. No Atlas, no Amani in this one, but what stays the same is NIP. They're on a roll. They're up 2-0 here as we head into game number 3. Space Station, they need to find some momentum, and they need to do it quick. Let's send it down to Evan and Nick to take it away.
I mean, I feel like what we're witnessing is best related to having a crazy Saturday night out, not remembering what's going on, and then having to go back to work on Monday and being like, oh, yeah, it's back the same.
I love that analogy.
Because, I mean, wow, what? Like, that was just so much new.
That's sick.
And now we're back into there's a lot to process
A little bit of return to normalcy here. But that's because that new stuff, that new's hot. Nobody is quite prepared for that, I don't think, on the side
a
of
weekend for
SSG.
that. Yeah.
And Aries is going to get his Cassie. That's something that's been banned out this set so far. I still feel like NIP's comp is about as spicy as you could get for Jaguar Falls here. They do have their Tyra. I'm curious to see how they operate around that. I think they have some of the best team play in the Premier League, so I'm very, very confident they're going to get a lot of value for a hunting party.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. The pressure was just created early enough, and they had to back off on the side of, SSG before Sadak could even get to where he wanted to go. I mean, it's really, I think, tank play, and you look at Bonker and Diggy is just such a dangerous.
This, bro.
And then Tenor cleans everyone up. I mean, this is just not even close.
It's just
to
a
a
death
contest.
squad, man. Yeah. They're escorting Tyra around. Tyra's marking it up, and then Diggy Dog and
Let's
Tenor
go.
are just chasing them down around corners. I was going to say the one thing SSG have going for them is they essentially have this 3 DPS comp set up with the Ruckus, spearheading like a Cassie and a Bomb King with Luminary around the map, but they could struggle when they run into Evil Mojos. NIP haven't even needed the Evil Mojo so far.
No, and, Tenor to be able to play that Amani so well and then bring back the other thing people still hadn't figured out about how to counter the Pip. It just feels rude.
Pretty scary, man. I don't know. They are a team that is difficult to deal with. They have so much momentum right now, and it sounds like a little Evil Mojo did come out, but Tenor does fall regardless of that.
Well, I think
he didn't get it off.
In a grander scheme of things, I think this Atlas Imani injection in week, 6, maybe 7, has been the best thing for NIP because I think, they're a team that people are going to have to look back at the tape. They're going to have to see them play again and again and again and be like, oh, that's how you beat them. They've just been like way too many steps ahead at adapting to the new meta. And then a new meta comes in right when people are maybe starting to get an idea of like, okay, here's how we deal with the Pip. And now it feels like they're light years ahead again.
Yeah, that's what makes them so special, though. A lot of teams in Paladins in the past that have been at the top have just been content to be at the top, and you can't exactly blame them. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But NIP, while it's not broken, they're just continuing to look for new tools and new ways to use these old tools to make sure that they stay ahead of the curve.
One thing I said, I believe it was Monday, but you guys may not have been watching if you're regular Premier League viewers, unless you are a Console League viewer as well, is that NIP, they were here about 10, 11 a.m. Monday morning, and they didn't play till Friday, so they had every right to be sleeping in at that time on a Monday, just taking it easy, showing up even in the afternoon, get some work done. But they were here bright and early when we were scrimming, getting ready for this week. So I'm not surprised by these results.
Double rolls coming through. Bonker kills the King Bomb, and it does not get any value for nothing. A poor little Geno sent back to spawn. They're not even going to be up in time to contest this payload.
Yeah, it hasn't been much of a game, has it? And when you look back at these last two, really
I love
feels
that
like
spray, dude.
Yeah. And it does two things. A, SSG maybe a little rattled here. Their first and best game with Atlas was the thing that made the difference. Ever since they haven't had Atlas, it's been all NIP.
It was such a comeback from NIP, even in game one. That's like almost like shakes you a little bit because they were looking very, very good. They were in a position to win that game easily, and NIP just continued to fight and take it back. They seized momentum, and it has not gone back the other way since. Not a lot of items coming out for SSG. Aries is unable to afford his level 2 cauterize. FRZ got just barely skates by with Record 2. Sadak just narrowly getting the cauterize 2 online as well. So not going to be completely out of it, but NIP looked like a force to be reckoned with.
NIP here being aggressive as always. But a dismount, an early bomb, that's good, but he trades out with at least the mark, and that gives him vision. Diggy's held this little angle, and it's been very hard for anyone to take, so SSG have to adjust. He's going to dive in the back line. He's got his ultimate as well. I think he just wants a kill on the healer, and should be able to get it here.
Nice read. Yeah. Juke anticipated there off the door frame. Diggy Dog has been a mammoth today on whatever he's played. Playing the Ashe into the Atlas, playing the Atlas back onto the Ashe. Such an incredible off tank after a guy that was placed at B-, I think, on Simsalo's tier list.
Wow.
How are you going to hit him with that? I think he's been one of the most incredible game-changing off tanks of this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think he stands there at the top for me as far as the proven S-tier off tanks in Paladins right now. And you got to give Tenor that same level of kind of flexibility as a damage carry.
Yeah,
FRZ guy would have been in that conversation had this performance not happened today because he's just been quiet.
Definitely. Luminary Bomb King on Jag Falls, Luminary Cassie, Luminary Ruckus for Space Station Gaming, and nothing. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is why it's so momentous. These are the power picks for SSG that are being silenced by NIP.
Yeah.
Quietly into the night, 3-0 here for NIP. Game number 3, looking like it's about to meet the same result.
You just, what I find that people really get in the NIP matches, they just get under pressure, and they make decisions under pressure that aren't always as well calculated. You notice whenever NIP are drafting, they're getting great things that they love. And SSG getting good things here, but it's like, Diggy's Ash is almost ban-worthy in itself. I mean, the impact he has on that champion, I've yet to see a lot of pressure put on these guys, man.
316.
Maybe it's just impossible.
I think it's impossible. That's the way they like to play, and they're damn good at doing it. I would say better than anyone else in the world. Not only does it have in-game implications, but pressure affects the human beings behind the keyboard and the mouse as well. Their decision-making starts to get flustered. Comes a seismic crash as a stun out one.
Yeah. So, they find the kill on the Alex, and maybe that's what they're really feeling the heat on. It should at least result in maybe a team wipe here, and it does. So 1 ult gets you 3 kills. That's a very valuable seismic crash for sure.
Back to 59 as well, shutting down the streak on a 10er.
Oh wow, that's huge value right there. So he's definitely happy that happened. And this hunter's mark, I wonder if that really is playing as big a role for them as it is. Maybe Alex is where FRZ God needs to focus his attention.
2 more kills for NIP. King Bomb's rolling through here. It's going to catch Bonker, delete him instantly, but he'll lose his life for it. 2 versus 4 here for NIP. And again, I think it's because of the level of team play and the aggression that comes out from Diggy and Tenor that really makes these Hunter's marks so is just one of those champions that when you've got the balance swinging in your favor in a matchup, I mean, you could play it with confidence. You can make mistakes. You can still come out on top. Just when you have a champion with slows, damage amp, and then self-healing and mobility, and then an ult, if you get really in trouble, you can always turn him into a chicken. I mean, not a lot of people can say that. Dome shield out. Incredible, Bonker performance
They want to win
as well. Evil Mojo, I think, hits the back.
Wow.
Wow, it hits. I didn't even know that was going to have the reach to hit FRZ God as well, but it does. NIP quickly dealing with SSG, who selected Jaguar Falls.
Yeah, not working out to get the Atlas ban. This did not work out in their favor. The 2 champions that have been the most deadly for NIP admittedly today have been Imani, in my opinion. Obviously, Pip has always been deadly, and the Atlas. And those 2 were not available because Cassie was selected, and you couldn't get Imani, and then also Atlas was banned. So SSG may want to go back to what has worked for them. Maybe look at some Ash bans. Maybe look at something to shut Diggy down, throw off his champion pool, though he can play at almost everything.
Hard to slow this fella down at this point.
This mother fella down. That's true.
He's been really, really solid. Even, quick shout out to Alex for flexing out onto this Tyra. Not something that we typically see from him very often, but he needs to do something to keep himself in the conversation because NIP, they're stamping MVP medals all over the place.
Absolutely. And then taking that Genos while also having the Inara without really flexing the power of that triple DPS potential with Sadak. Uncharacteristic performance for him to go 3-8. I mean, 10 or 14-2, we always point to that when he plays the Pip. I mean, those ridiculous stat lines where you say, no one's killed the Pip. I mean, how long are you going to do it?
He's getting a lot of life steal, just so much self-healing. It's allowing him to take these duels. If there was any question of who he can duel between Luminary Bomb King and Luminary Ruckus, you see that 1440. That is a cauterized heal, still healing for 1440. The Pip has been very, very difficult to deal with when it gets ahead.
And it's really the Moxie as well. We'll talk about some of those cards, some of the changes that could happen as we head back to the desk to potentially face our last game of this first set.
Gore, I think there was some sort of issue with the input of my pick for this week. I definitely put down NIP, but I think something changed. The NP and the S key are so close together.
Oh, yeah. No, naturally. I could see that, And, they're
know what
spelled
happened.
very similarly,
Right.
SSG and NIP, all very, very similar
all the
looking
same
letters.
right?
Yeah, no,
Across
naturally.
the board. And I don't know what happened. I definitely.
You know what? I don't fault you for it. It happens to everybody.
It does happen to everyone, but I mean, and they just look good. They look good, Gore.
Yeah.
We thought this could go 7. I mean, there's still every chance in the world that SSG could flip the switch and suddenly start coming back. They've shown us what they can do. NIP just came out faster. They came out more aggressive today. And SSG they're on the back foot, and they got one game to turn things around.
I don't know whether I want to word it as I only had time to take the one note, or really they only gave me one note to work with, and that's just like, hey, remember Pip and Ash? They're still really good players that can use those on NIP. And it's just like, again, you had kind of said it, like a callback. Like, it's just standards now. There's no Atlas was available since he was banned. No Amani picked up. And with the way things go, they just go, okay, cool. We're just going to play like Jack Falls from 3 weeks ago. Like, we're going to play the exact thing.
And it went well for them 3 weeks ago. So why not a little bit more today? I mean, they're on a roll right now, and they've shown that they've adapted to the new meta. They're kind of the ones who are driving the meta, I would say, at the moment. They're just playing at the top of their game. I think they've shown today, they're the team to beat in the situation, and they need to get beaten here. SSG need to find a win. Frog Isle's going to be where they try to do it. But you go 4-3, 4-1, 4-0. Things are getting progressively worse now. You start off really close, you steal a point away, and then you get clean swept in the last game. NIP look really good. SSG, I mean, they have the potential there. They just haven't shown it yet today. Back to the Ash ban, back to the Makoa ban as well. Atlas has not reared his head just yet in this ban phase, but this is interesting in that the Frog Isle goes back to the sniper priority map. So we don't know how Atlas would work on a map like this. I mean, the stasis field is really good, seemingly on whatever map, or Amani either. Kana's going to be ban number 2 here for SSG. We'll have to see what direction NIP choose to go. But Bittner's shown, though, on the Strix, he can do just as well as anybody in the world. He's such a hard guy to lock down.
I think this is actually probably, like, I don't know how comfortable SSG are on this map, and this could go either way depending on the draft, but historically, at least as of right now, like the standards, as I would call them, like if you go to Jaguar Falls, you go to Serpent Beach, you go to Frog Isle, probably throw in the Bright Marsh in there as well. Like these maps, those standards, and Stone Keep for the 5th one, kind of all tend to lean towards NIP. Like if it's like you need to make them a little more uncomfortable, which is already difficult to do, but then you take them to a map they've been playing for years, that's not going to do too much. And like you said, they have the flexibility that comes down to the fact that, well, Bittner, what's he going to play here, right? Is he going to grab a Strix? Is he going to grab a Leon? Is he going to grab a Mani? Are they going to play Cassie? Like there's so much that he can play that it's almost impossible to determine what it will be until the end.
Well, Atlas is still around. So still impossible to determine up to this point. As I say it, he goes off the board. So they're going to try their hand at Atlas yet again. Mixed success so far on the day. 1 for 1 so far in the win and loss column. Hoping to change things around here potentially. Cassie's still on the board as well. Maybe not as often played here on Frog Isle. Have to see what direction they choose to go here. The sniper kind of priority is tended to be like Knessa first and then Strix afterwards. But when we talked with Meta, he just kind of said, well, it's down to preference. Knessa kind of has that high burst damage. Strix kind of has the flip-flop with the sniper and the pistol. Barrack Genos, 1 and 2 here for NIP. Always dangerous when you give him the Geno score.
Incredibly. And honestly, that's at this point where this Eevee pick might just be to keep it away from NIP because they've been running like the first 2 games. I believe they had Eevee Genos, and Eevee Genos is
to protect the
insane
sanctity of the
damages.
wild.
This could be maybe a decent map to be able to do it without, but I mean it's going to be so hard because now whoever they pick up, let's say they go Leon, let's say they go Strix, whoever has that Luminary boost, it's just a lot easier to kill that 1800 health Eevee. Again, 1800. It's not a big number in this game. It's the lowest health of any of the champions to burn through.
I mean, Strix hits for, what, 1,200 or
1,200
I think,
body
base.
shot, 1,800 headshot.
You could essentially kill Eevee right off the bat. I mean, she's done fine on this map, but traditionally we've looked at it and it's been like, well,
Single breath
you pick Eevee into the snipers because you're able to jump on them and make them uncomfortable, but that script has kind of been flipped, I think, the last few times that we've seen it, where the snipers are just fine holding their own. You land a body shot and then a few pistol shots there from Strix, and that Eevee's going away. They're going to give it to Bittner, most likely, is the last person we saw play the Strix, so maybe more of the same here. Knessa off to the opposite side here for SSG, so we are going to get the sniper duel here. You kind of raised your eyebrows a little bit at the Fernando pick, I think.
Yeah, it was just a little off-putting to me, but I mean, it's just one of those things when you look at the fact that 4 front lines are banned out, you kind of have to go a little deeper.
This is
into
where
it. It's just like
this is our life. This is where we're at.
Fernando is like that champion right now where I'm like, well, cool, what's it going to bring? But then it's like, well, Immortal's going to be really good. They've obviously played it very well, but at that point, it's pick of the litter. Like, are you going to go Fernando for his utility, or are you going to go Ruckus on this map? Admittedly, with what they had, you don't want to go for the Ruckus, and they lock in the Drogos. I think this is going to be good, but I don't know if the Kinessa on SSG can hold up to the Strix.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. They get the Atlas yet again. Let's send it down to Nick and Evan to take it away.
Well, a lot of thought went into that throw, and we heard you. You almost
Watch it, Dave.
you almost went there. But we're going to give you a bye on that one. Nice throw, Dave. And, you know, throwing it down to Frog Isle.
What would it have been, Evan and Evan?
Evan and Evan.
It's a new law
what
firm.
could he have said? I think the problem is when you just do that, you keep messing up. You're like, I don't trust myself anymore. I have to constantly think about this because I'll just Nick and Nick. It doesn't make any sense. Nick at night, he'll throw it to anything at this point. Even things that don't really exist. As we head down to Frog Isle, it's going to be interesting because Combustible Drogos really works well for Alex here. We've had a lot of tape on it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it made a fool, I think it was, of Envy last round as well.
This is one of those scenarios. I really truly do like SSG's lineup a lot more, but it's like that is NIP.
Temporal Divide on this will be the whole map.
It's going to be crazy. You're going to get a really good view of it, too, which is, I think, the thing that we were not really kind of seeing on Serpent Beach. A lot of stuff cutting it off, but you're just going to see that bad boy in all of its glory here on the wide open fields of Frog Isle.
I want to see it in his loadout. Has he changed anything? Has he opted into? Okay, Hellhunter. That's a little new. He might have had that as a 1 point. I just wasn't paying attention to it. But really, it's the old wounds
wonder.
And the Beyond the Veil, and those fully charged weapon shots, getting that ammo back, so you can be extremely valuable. One of the things about this matchup, Nick, is Atlas will be able to contribute just a little bit to the sniper battle as well.
Yeah, I think more than a little bit if he can connect a big shot here. It has yet to, though. Tenner making himself available. He's going to feel it. And that shot combined with a Kinessa shot will be enough to take that poor little Strix out unless he's got some massive damage reduction while scope going. Pressure on Alex as well. I'm surprised he felt good about picking that Drogos into this situation.
Uh-oh, now they got to be careful. Because he definitely doesn't want to use his second chance right now. He needs a heal. Just got a lot of damage coming his way. Look at that wall. Temporal Divide, even helping Rachao out. They're going to back off. Very smart from Space Station. They've gotten everything they want. And they're taking the space. Expecting the hop. Ares on the sniper.
Yeah,
that's rare.
To him. Definitely looking for the hop there. Now he's hopping.
Oh!
There it is. The combination Talon Rifle and the Fire Spit will be enough. Big headshot from Tenner. Wowee.
And this is, you back off in the right way, but then you give NIP what they want, which is that space to move forward, and it just feels like everything's tactical. It feels like the mind that they have for Paladins at this moment is just too great.
That was awesome. That was like a military march. Slowly but surely they made progress, pushing SSG back, running out of resources, and eventually getting the control they need. It was a big lead on the objective for SSG. They were first to the punch, holding it down for a good little while, but NIP just cannot be stopped. They are truly the unstoppable force.
Well, what I noticed about the way Sadak and Diggy played Atlas in that round was Sadak very defensive, Diggy a lot more offensive. I think he would have pushed some of those moments because you do have that second chance in your pocket. You do have those rewinds to kind of put them on the back foot as well, the setbacks. So, I'd like to see that maybe change a little bit from him. It can be very lethal. And there's a good second chance to get back on the map.
Definitely. Something about Atlas you can't
Look at that wall.
Won't nullify a Dragon Punch, but the shot
Awkward.
from the Grunu Cannon will. And more damage coming out from the backline. Great fear to set it up. Sadak finds 2. But is it enough to win this fight? Bonker's still pushing the payload.
Yeah, and I think it's just target prioritization here. Doesn't quite have any of the cooldowns. He has second chance, but puts him in a really bad spot. He does get the rewind, but it's not enough, so it'll send him back to base.
120, pretty, decent progress. What a snipe from Bird from half court on the Ares. Caught him jumping. I'm not even sure how he knew.
I mean, he must have been peeking. Maybe peeking at...
People like to stand here, I think.
Yeah. Holy moly. And Tanner cleaning it up. NIP 50% of the way, but it's looking like this could definitely be the closeout game to 4-0 Space Station.
Well, we have our answer of what happens when the Unstoppable Force meets the
Yeah,
quota movable object.
Yeah.
The tidal wave
It
of
moves.
NIP. One's stronger than the other right
Yeah.
now. Best part of a big shot on Strix is hitting that woohoo, though. Just
Yeah.
the
Exiled. That's what it
field 10.
looks like. And Ares was right there, and still Tanner hits him. It had to have been a bank shot.
It was. I think
Was
you're
that
right.
a ricochet?
I think it had to have been.
I don't think he had the angle.
No, I think you're right. I think it had to be off the backboard.
Oh.
Everything connecting for NIP right now.
My goodness. And they don't have time. I mean, right now, we barely have time to cast these games great before we have to throw it back to the desk. I mean, they don't have time to make these adjustments like that. You got one more shot, and that's it.
Ugh. One more round separating NIP from their flawless victory here. Flawless set after flawless set after flawless set. I mean, they're setting themselves up for a real nice seeding at the MSI. There's not a whole lot of time left for things to go awry for NIP if they're staying this far out ahead of the pack.
I know.
What is really invigorating, I think, about these two new champions is it does introduce a massive opportunity for shakeups for people who really lost matchups in week 1. I'm looking at the Renegades, right? They need.
I'm looking at the Knights,
They
too.
need to grind these new champions and figure out how can we get ourselves back in. We've been given a big opportunity here.
Yeah, and I think they are best going to be played in that style. I think right now what we're seeing is pressure, pressure, pressure. That Temporal Divide, as good as it is, it ends eventually, and that's when NIP take advantage of it. Unlike the Deja Vu, that's got to hit directly now because of the setback, not being a lob projectile anymore, so he misses Bonker there. Second chance still available. All the meanwhile, Alex kills Midtow, but a lot of work being done by Sadak, but still, Bonker's going to get out alive.
Taken out of the sky.
Oh, no.
Bonker gets Sadak. I honestly thought SSG had that one. It looked like a pretty good fight for them out of the gate, but NIP have been capturing this whole time as well. They're already at 72%. Spawn stuffing SSG. And even the spawn doors are not safe as Diggy Dog finds another one deep in the back line.
Oh boy. 3, 2, 0. And you already know what this is looking like it is going to be, ladies and gentlemen. NIP just dominant and excellent on this Thursday morning, or at least early afternoon here in Atlanta. It's not going to...
Atlas got you goofed up.
Well, I mean, he might have set me back in time a little bit. I wish he could have a word with Daylight Savings.
Yeah. He's come to
Seems
save
like he
us.
went all forward on that one.
Getting that archaic mechanic out of the game. Huh?
Yeah.
I like it. Big fear to the back line. A little something going for SSG. Rochelle finds Tenor. Up over the wall is Freeze God. Looking for Alex. Won't find it. When he blinks back, though, he's met with some pressure from Diggy.
Want to give a lot of credit to that pick, though. It's not that they haven't gone to it. They did pressure Diggy's champion pool, which is why you see the Fernando. But they're so flexible. They're so good. It's almost... You almost look at it as like, man, that's a hard one. But Alex on the Drogos into the EV. He's played it before. Comfort on it. They like the combustible style here. And it's really hard for the EV to guarantee wins in that matchup, which is something that FRZ God needs. He needs to pop off for this team to be as successful as they are.
Yeah. Atlas is, and frankly, even Imani, I think, to an extent, is going to be more natural predators for Drogos, making this character that much more hard to run. Those guys running around the battlefield. Two quick ones with Luminary from Alex, 977 a pop.
And I think that
You have a license for this popsicle stand, young man?
I don't know. He might be too young to operate that. It does feel like they are on something, and maybe it's just a sugar high, but at this point, everyone wants to be on it as well. NIP looking just a class above the rest today. And that Temporal Divide looking more and more useless and stopping.
I do want to say one thing, though, about that. I like the like turn sideways to cast it along like a long angle. I think that's a really cool thing that a lot of Atlases who really study the map and how big exactly this divide is are going to be able to make use of.
And you got to look at many factors to where are you, where's your DPS, where's your support.
What half of the map do we want?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, if you just have the awareness, right? He's looking at his situation, but if he's just doing his thing and he gets a call from Midtow, looks at Midtow's situation, throws that shield up, I mean, he can impact that fight. Midtow could trade that way. These are things, really good setback. Really good setback.
Character, dude. Well done, dev team.
This looks like it's going to be a defense here, so maybe a little bit of hope.
Maybe. A hope. Chance. Time. Atlas is our last hope.
This reminds me of, Infinity War, which we're not spoiling at this point, but it's like
spoil Infinity War.
one chance in 14 million to get the win. And Atlas is the guy who's basically that chance. We both did something in the casting booth that we couldn't show you because that would have been a spoiler.
And we're not about that.
And we're not about that.
We would never even
We would never spoil. But, you know, NIP getting spoiled here with all the
spoiling the
success.
4-0.
Yeah, exactly.
SSG with the defense. Am I right, chat?
Woo!
Am I right?
They did. They spoiled it. If they can even get a map, that's helpful for everyone trying to catch NIP. Sadak here, let's see how aggressive he gets. Because right now the aggressive nature is gone onto Diggy. And he's going to just rewind him. Exile. Ooh, I like it. He's going to do another one. Look at how much they care about Diggy. And Alex says, I don't care at all, but a good... Wait, what?
How did that not hit?
Immortal from Fernando.
Oh,
what
no.
a play. Diggy gets out just in time to save Alex. Oh, you hate to see it if you are an SSG fan, but you love to see it if you're on NIP side.
It's almost like FRZ got even like stared at it another second. Was like, huh? What's up?
Huh? What a beautiful play. Yeah, he's just going to have to set a second chance. They tried to catch him. He delayed it just enough. But Diggy's been such a problem. Even on the Fernando, he looks pretty unkillable at this point. It's just the min-maxing, the value from the roll, and just the aim. My God. We're not even going to talk about that. What a shot. What a set. NIP 4-0 against SSG.
Sheesh. I don't know what else to say, man. You guys saw the games.
Not
you know
much.
what happened. We broke down the new characters. NIP are just ahead of the pack. SSG looked very, very good in their debut week. Certainly not up to the task.
All right, well, let's send it back to the desk. That one was a stunner.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Nick. First set of the day in the books. NIP 4-0. I don't think any of us would have expected. I mean, I certainly picked NIP to win, but I don't think I would have expected a 4-0 out of the books here. SSG find their first loss of the season. NIP, they just look like they're on another world.
I mean, they are playing lights out. I mean, and even after that first map, right? You come into this, I'm looking at these two teams, and I'm thinking, okay, this is probably, I'm admittedly thinking 6 games. This is probably a 6-game set. It's going to be like win-win, loss, win-loss, or something like that. And then eventually moving into map 6 for NIP to be able to kind of control it.
Sure.
But the entire time, they just look better and better. Like, as time progresses, they just clean themselves, or they clean up every single thing they're doing.
And it's hard to kind of pinpoint in a way. I mean, at the end of the day, they just have a stacked team where every single member is playing so well.
Well, I would actually throw that last map, honestly, I like Kinessa and I like SSG.
Yeah.
I don't think those two blend very well right now. I don't think, like, when we're talking about players and, like, man, who are we going to look at playing Kinessa? No one on SSG comes into the conversation because they just haven't shown that they have that yet. And so going into this matchup and being like, cool, we're going to give Bittner a Strix that he has shown can be ridiculous on this map, and we're going to grab Kinessa to combat it. It's just like, it didn't work for me there. Obviously didn't work for SSG there that much either, because it just was almost continually shut down at the beginning of the game.
Well, this, I mean, as far as everyone aside from NIP now, this just second through whatever is now even more tumultuous. I think everyone would kind of agree that NIP is just, I mean, they are the best team right now. They're 6-0 for a good reason.
Yeah.
But the way that was handled by NIP, then that makes you wonder, well, is VP now a step up because they only lost 4-2? I mean, you know what I mean? There's so many different ways of looking at it. Navi, Envy. I mean, the whole list at this point is kind of chasing, in my eyes at least, chasing to kind of be where NIP is. And it makes some of these games a little more interesting when you compare kind of the results coming out of it.
And if you want to look at this, I guess in a way that can maybe cement this for people, last year in a split, the best you could do was 8-0. You had 8 wins that you could get total. And we had a couple of teams that were able to accomplish that, but you're looking at NIP going 6-0 right now. They win 2 more. They've matched just a single split from last year. They go past that. They've done some things that we haven't seen from teams unless you're making like a world champion run. So this is incredible for them to be able to do it, and also kind of paints a huge target on their back.
It absolutely does, and they got a lot of things to figure out here. I think the teams behind them are going to start to kind of learn this meta, and
you got to pick it up.
At some point, they'll suffer a loss. But what we do know is that they're standing by in the interview chairs. We might as well just print their names on the chairs at this point. They're so used to coming back here and sitting down for the victory interviews. Let's send it down to that to hear what they're thinking.
My first question is for you, and you've been on a lot of teams over the course of the Paladins esports scene. A lot of times at the top, the first iteration of this NIP roster was sort of criticized for being very stagnant. How has that affected the way you guys operate now? Because not only were you ahead of the curve before, but with these 2 champions, you look to have moved yourselves even further ahead of the curve than some of these other teams.
I think we're probably just one of the teams that's willing to actually do jank. You know, we're willing to test things. We're willing to go into scrims and lose because we just want to see if something works. You know, it probably won't, but may as well try, eh?
Any code DPS?
Were you surprised at all that SSG didn't prioritize Imani in their playstyle and they had that opportunity to? They selected Cassie instead. Did that catch you off guard, or were you pretty much expecting everything they did today?
I mean, I kind of expect, because I was actually thinking about this yesterday, because I don't think FRZ or Ares is like, it's not really their playstyle, that champion, and no one can really play it as well as Tenor,
So is this expected to be just a Tenor pick? What other guys do you think are going to bring this out?
Alex?
That is fortunate for you guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think people are going to study Tenor's playstyle, and you might see it much more, but...
Quick question about the Atlas, Diggy Dog. How do you make your decisions between the Temporal Rift and the AoE setback?
No leaks.
Kind of depends on our comp, so it's like... Depends on our tank lineup, basically, and then also how passive their comp is.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I normally run the Deja Vu, because it's much better overall.
All right, well, I won't ask you to reveal anything else than that. Thank you guys so much for the interview. Congratulations on the continued undefeated streak. We're going to get it back up to the desk before we take a quick break.
Scrap.
Undefeated, to say the least. He took a page out of my own book with like the wrist flip that was going on.
If you're gonna dab, go all out.
Go
Hit
all
me
out.
with the Hakata.
Right, I went halfway. Well, you know, here we don't like to let any important days go by without acknowledging them. At least I know that
Star
we
Wars
enjoy.
Day is in 2 days, but okay.
What?
Nothing. That was a bad joke. Just ignore it.
We do have Bayshore coming back here. He has a quick announcement for us here in just a second. I'm excited, Gore. What do you think it's going to be?
I mean, it could be anything.
It could be literally anything at this
he
point.
keeps coming in and hijacking a segment on Esports Weekly.
I mean, we already
at this point, it might be his show.
We already had champions released, and
he's gonna come back and be like, "So actually, Imani was banned, and IP DQ'd. SSG get the win." That's not going to be what it is, guys.
Right?
No.
It is
100%
not. We also had.
They get the win.
He also came to talk about MSI, so it's not going to be that.
No.
I don't know what it's going to be. Well, here he is. Let's bring on Bayshore to kind of introduce the day. We've speculated as to what your point's going to be, so come on in and tell us what your exciting reveal is.
Well, Atlas is really good. And
that's
also,
not a reveal. We knew that.
It's Blake's birthday.
Of course, it's Blake's birthday.
It's Blake.
And per our usual skill shot tradition here on stream, we like to give cupcakes to our birthday team.
You have to eat them all right now.
Every single
Just
one
kidding.
right now.
Blake's like, I'm on a diet. This is the worst.
So
this is like
I tried to get low calorie, but either cupcakes. So
dude,
like,
they're cupcakes.
They are cupcakes. Well, happy birthday, man.
Low-fat lard.
you know, we do what we can here. We do what we can here. But happy birthday, Blake.
Happy
Everyone in the
birthday.
chat, show some love to Blake.
Happy birthdays up in the chat.
He'll be helping you out next game. Take it easy, guys.
Well, everyone wish Blake a happy birthday. We're going to jump to a quick break before our second set.
Cheers.
Paladins Premier League, brought to you by Skillshot, High Res, Evil Mojo, INAP, Steel Series, and Respawn.